So we are gonna be live in just a couple seconds if we aren't live already. Good evening / morning to the SpeedGaming crowd. Thanks everybody so much for hanging out and watching the SNES Super Stars Marathon. My name is Yelsraek, and I have lost my marbles, so I'm playing Magic Sword instead. We're gonna give a quick reset so that hopefully we can hear the lovely Capcom chime, and then we're gonna dive right into this game. This is Magic Sword. It is a port of an arcade game for the SNES that is delightful, but also laggy as heck. So let's dive into it. So we get to be the brave one, the hero of the story. We are here, we've been sent into the tower to try to defeat the evil Lord Drakmar, who has the all-powerful black orb that has all the evil in the world. So we gotta go get him. We gotta fight some bosses along the way. And here's the first one, a Chimera. Should probably mention at this point that there are two different types of attacks that we can do. We have Sword Slash, and we have a Super Joy. Now, there's Super Joy that we can use to deal damage to everything on screen. Realistically, it clears pretty much everything on screen except for bosses, but it does do a substantial amount of damage to bosses, all in exchange for 1 bar of health. So, a lot of the route here is managing health versus spending it on Super Joys to try to optimize your speed and movement. Now that said, I ran this for SNES Super Stars back in 2017, and the world record route leverages the fact that the SNES version gives you 3 continues, so you use them all because all you gotta do is press start, it takes like 2 seconds, and it gives you 10 extra bars of health. It's a pretty good deal. But got pretty good reviews from the chat when I did that run. However, there was one person in chat who was like, man, why isn't this a 1cc? Which is short for a 1 credit clear, for those that are familiar with the verbiage from the arcade community. And since this is an arcade port, I've decided I'm going to make good to that one person, and I'm going to do a 1cc run tonight. You're not really going to notice a huge amount of time loss here. Well, I say that, but we got the bad RNG. Seeing this, I got to come all the way over here to get that gauntlet, because we need the gauntlet. The gauntlet is the item that does the most damage on bosses. It improves your melee attack power substantially, and it could be in one of 4 different chests in that level. It is randomized, so it's just RNG. And since it was in the 4th one that I chose, I lost like 10 seconds going to fetch it. But yeah, so there's the gold dragon down, and we're navigating our way through this tower. There are 50 floors in all, so it goes from 0, which is the outdoor, all the way up to 50, where Lord Drakmar is waiting for us. This is the first execution-intensive floor here, so let me focus a little bit. Whoa. That bear really wanted a piece of me. Rear and back. So we try to optimize our movement here as best we can, so that we're slowing down as little as possible. This game has the same sort of repercussions for slashing your sword as a game like Ninja Gaiden does, say, where your momentum is halted if you're just standing there and you go to slash. However, if you're jumping forward and slashing, there's no penalty. There's no movement issue. So you tend to try to slash while you're in the air more than anything else. This is the Spinal Tap floor, because it takes us to 11. Or rather, it goes to 11. I ruined my own joke. Oh well, it's not a very good joke anyway. But I think the other important bit that I probably should mention is that there are hidden doors in this tower, and we're not actually navigating through all 51 floors, 0 through 50. Ooh, that's a chalice. I can just walk through stuff. The chalice gives you some invulnerability, and that's what that flickering is around me. So yeah, so this particular category of the game uses floor warps. I am, actually the next thing I'm gonna do after this marathon run is route all floors. So here's the boss on floor number 12. This is another Chimera, much like the one on floor 0, except it has armor that is around it. There's a bunch of skulls that circle around it. This is a fight that is a lag management exercise. You really get a feel for how much this game lags when all those things are turned into coins. Get up here. For those that actually are familiar with the game Magic Sword, one small discrepancy here between what I'm doing right now and what you may remember from when you played this as a kid is I don't have a companion. And if you played this in the arcade, there are companions locked in jail cells all throughout the tower. And it helps. You got a little helper with you, they have their own weapon, it helps you clear out more stuff. However, as I just mentioned, that fight was basically just a lag management exercise. This game suffers tremendously from lag already. Therefore, having another sprite on screen with you all the time that shoots a projectile every time you attack is just a bad idea. And I mean, we're talking like 2 minutes bad. Like, it adds 2 minutes to the run to have a companion with you for the whole run. So we don't do it. There was another hidden door there. Goes from 14 to 19. And jump over these bad boys. Every 300,000 points, you trigger a fairy, which we just did right there. She drops some food, and she's so nice that she drops food that to thank her, you slash her. If you hit her with your sword after she's dropped her standard 3 pieces of food, she drops a 4th one, and the 4th one is worth just as much as the first 3. You're gonna do a little wiggle here to get that skeleton to spawn up top, so we can just run through. If he spawns in the bottom, it makes the jumping up these little pillars a bit more challenging. We're gonna see more manipulation like that a little bit later. But for now, here we're going to encounter a floor that has some cycles that you can't beat, so we just use Super Joys to clear everything out. I mentioned the Super Joy is really powerful, and it basically clears everything that's not a boss. I mean everything, even those little like spinning axes and whatnot. You just press the Super Joy button and poof, they go away. But then so does your health, so again, you got to manage it carefully. So, you may have also seen that on some floors you go left instead of right. Then there are other floors like this one, and like floor 19 as well, where you can go either left or right. It wraps all the way around. You can choose whichever way you want. That one's a lot faster, and there's a bunch of health drops, so we go that way. Here's another example of a floor with cycles that you can't go faster than, so you just burn a whole bunch of health to just eliminate your foes. Because we're not standing around waiting. This is a speedrun after all. We gotta go fast. And the nice thing about the Super Joy, it clears everything on screen, but you also noticed I walked through some spikes there. Apart from clearing everything on screen, it charges the little magic meter above my health meter in the bottom left, and it gives me 4 whole seconds of iframes. So I can just walk through stuff. It's great. Alright, 24 is another boss floor. We want this gauntlet right here, and now we've fought like very typical fantasy stuff like dragons and chimeras, but this is where it's gonna get like sci-fi-ish because this boss is the space worms. Doesn't really smack of the same type of fantasy. Let's see if we can get the quick kill on these guys. Yep, get quick killed. Also, you see me walk over to a particular spot. I didn't actually get to the right spot on the 4th floor after the boss, and then a big arrow popped up on screen directing me which direction to walk. You have to be within, there's like a few pixels essentially, one way or the other. So it's a direct time loss if you just happen to not stand on the right spot after killing the boss. So you want to make sure you get over to the correct spot. There's a destruction book in here that does the same thing that one of your Super Joys does, but doesn't cost any health. So we pick that up to blow everything up. Enemies blow up in this game, which is great. We're going to do some manipulation here. So I used to manipulate one type of enemy in this floor, and then I realized after a while that you can also manip the skeletons. I used to manip those guys, but then I realized that everything on this floor can be manipulated. So we just, because what happens is they spawn based upon the direction you're facing. So if you walk to the trigger and then just turn around, they spawn behind you, and then you just keep running. So I like to call floor 26 population 0, because there's nobody there. You just walk into the end of the floor. No big deal. There's a chicken in that treasure chest. Castlevania has wall chicken, we have treasure chicken. Shoutouts to treasure chicken. And shoutouts to Castlevania. Great series of games. We're going to come across a little bit of RNG here on floor 28 with these moths. The moths is random whether they spawn from the left-hand side or the right-hand side. And you have to be ready. Sometimes like what I just did there, and what I didn't do there. So we're going to be off cycle now, so yeah, I'm going to be a little patient here. Spend too much time talking about them and not enough time killing them. But basically they're just on a timed cycle for the floor. So I know when I walk into the floor when they're going to spawn, unless I get hit, like I just did. Then all of a sudden I'm not quite sure of the timing, and you don't want to blindly jump to the next platform without taking into consideration whether a moth may spawn right in front of you. There are a couple of spots there, like the one I did right before I got hit, where you essentially want to make sure that you are prepared to kill the moth before it even spawns. Let's see if this wizard behaves. He didn't. Okay. If he behaves, he just kind of glides along the top of the screen, and then we don't have to do anything. You can't really get a clean slash on him with your sword, though. You just have to use a Super Joy to kill him, and it is worth it. He does a lot of damage. We're going to do another manip here. Jump over this moth. We're going to kill that moth. We're going to kill that bear. Oh, that moth spawned really low. That's okay. Moths do be like that sometimes. Onward we go. Still 1cc, still very much intact, and we go over to floor 32. Jump over him. Try not to open that treasure chest because it's very often a trap. We can do a little wiggle here to manipulate those skeletons to spawn behind us. Those are the ones that it's worth manipulating. These aren't. And there we go. So, this is a Capcom game, and most Capcom games like this usually have one really powerful signature item called a Yashichi. And this game's no different. Here it is right here. There's the Yashichi. It gives us like 6 bars of health. It's tremendously good. We used a little bit of iframes there to slash that bear and then walk through him before the iframes wore off. So for the speed run, the big reset point, if you're going for PB attempts and stuff, is coming up right here on floor 36. Because for the first, like, 5 bosses or so, we want the same item in our inventory at the time of the boss fight, and that is the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet increases your melee attack power. It's very good. And that's not it. In most other floors, like I mentioned on floor 4, if it's not in a chest that you want it to be along the way, then what you want to do is go and find it, because it's usually in another chest. But that's not the case on this floor. On this floor, it's just that one chest. It's either the King's Crown, which is what I got, which increases your magical defense, or the Blue Potion, which increases your magical offense, or it's the Gauntlet, which increases your melee offense, which is the one that you want. So I'm sure it might seem like this boss fight's going pretty fast, but trust me, it goes a lot faster if you have the gauntlet. But that's okay. The Hydra is dispatched. Yeah, I've got this really spiffy controller. This controller is a custom build from 40 watt range. And it's got the buttons are all lit up and stuff, and it's super neat. So I always like to show it off whenever I stream, whenever I can. So I mentioned earlier you get a fairy every 300,000 points. We passed the 600,000 point mark at the end of the Hydra fight, but as long as I don't kill anything, I can get to a safer spot like the beginning of this floor to trigger the fairy spawn right here. Which is preferred. By the way, this floor is affectionately dubbed Lag City. And you can see why when all those blue enemies pop up. Oh, we're just churning here. Oh, it's so slow. Wait for that skeleton to drop, because the skeletons, oddly, it seems like they're invulnerable when they're in the air. So, you want to wait for them to land before you do anything. 39, this is the floor that has the last shortcut. Slash that part of the wall there, and it'll take us to floor 42. Yeah, there's a lot of explosions for a game with a sword, that is for certain. But hey, the sword's magic. What do you want? So you see all these cages here. This is the last opportunity for you to get a companion, and yeah, we're just not doing it. So, floor 43, this is where you want to have a bunch of health, because there's a bunch of cycles you can't beat, so we're literally just going to do 7 Super Joys, all in a row. Because all these ball and chains, they're all going to drop from the ceiling, and you can't beat the cycles on any of them. So we just burn, burn, burn a bunch of health. And that's okay. And that says, you got the Thunder Sword. So we've had like fire shooting out the edge of our sword up to this point. But now it's going to be like a laser beam. It's pretty cool. Yo, Vonnie, how's it going, man? We spend a little bit of extra health there on some Super Joys because the treasure chests in there are pretty inconsistent. We're going to try to do some manipulations here. To try to get the skeletons to spawn behind us, but we got to make sure we jump at the right time, otherwise we're not going to be able to kill stuff. This game's neat in that way, in that it waits until now to introduce that floating skull enemy. Sheesh, and that one still didn't die. Well, that's fine, we're going to get to the door. The best companion that you don't use, it's kind of a toss-up. There's a knight and there's a lizard man. They're both pretty good. Either way, like, you have to level them up. That's the other interesting thing. There's a big component to this that we're not seeing at all, is that depending on how early in the game you get the ally, they might be like level 1, but their maximum level is 8. That's why you see the L1 in the bottom center of the screen. The later in the game you are, the more likely they are to be leveled up. And the stronger their projectiles are. It's a good spawn. Thanks very much. So like the knight is the one that is by default the strongest, however you can't get it until like the mid-20s anyway, and when you do, he's level 1. And you need to hope for some good drops. I'm gonna grab a star there. There's a star that gives you health, not as much as the Yashichi, like the one I just picked up there, but it's hidden in the fire, like you do. Yeah, 46 and 48 are good opportunities to pick up extra health before the last 2 bosses here. As 49 is King Chimera. And then 50 is Drakmar. We're almost there. It's only been 19 minutes and we're almost at the penultimate boss right now. So because I want to show the 1cc for sure, to make good on you know, the request from somebody in chat from 5 years ago, I'm gonna spend a little bit of extra time on this floor after the fight. I'm actually going to work my way back to the left here. Unorthodox for the fight that I normally do. That's okay. Yeah, it's just dramatic slow-mo. I love it. And grab these coins to reduce the slow-mo effect. And instead of going to... You see the fairies go over to the right with a big key, and they're like, hey, come on, this is the way to the last boss. I'm like, hold on, give me a sec. I want to grab this nice shield. I want to grab this big coin. There's a pair of scissors here. And the pair of scissors gives you 60,000 points, but it also kills your companion if you grab it. So you gotta be careful. And this diamond down here, 1 million points. Just hiding in the spikes that now don't hurt you because the boss is dead, which totally makes sense. Just walking through spikes like nobody's business. And then somewhere up here, 5th or 6th platform, there we go, there's a sapphire worth 80,000. Now we're over 2 million points. And off we go to the 50th floor. So I mentioned that you trigger a fairy every 300,000 points. We just got a whole lot of points. So now, pretty much like the first 3, maybe 4 actions that we do are all going to trigger fairies back to back. So kill this guy and a fairy spawns. Oh, I missed her. Love it. I'm gonna slash her and get that apple. Rats. Okay, it looks like we're done with the fairies, which is fine. So you saw I got awfully close to opening some treasure chests, but I definitely don't want to open any right now, because the item that I have is the Power Stone. It's the most powerful item in the entire game. It's stronger than the Gauntlet. We didn't want to lose it, otherwise the last fight goes very slowly. So we didn't lose it, which is good. So there's a chicken over here. Shoutouts to Treasure Chicken. And here is Lord Drakmar. He's gonna float around and shoot projectiles at us, but we're just gonna do pretty fast, continuous sequence of slashes and super joys because we've got a ton of health. And it only costs 1 bar of health for every super joy. And look, he's just losing it. Oh, we took a little hit there, no big deal. Taking a hit also recharges your magic meter, which is what makes the laser beams so strong. Because your super joy primes that for you. But you can also just kind of be tentative and take hits and stuff. And that about does it. We got about 30 seconds away from GG here, and we have one choice to make. I'm gonna decide to do the good ending. There's a good ending and a bad ending. So right now, you've killed him, and now he's like, hey, I can't believe you beat me. By the way, this black orb that I have has all the evil in the world. You should totally take it. And, you know, you could rule the world now if you want to. And we have a choice. Good ending or bad ending. The fastest way is to take the good ending because it's the first option that presents itself to you. So we just mash, mash, mash. And there's time. And we break it and he's like, oh, you're shattering it. I can't believe you would do that, you jerk. And then we get the good ending with the credits and the funky music. If we had taken the black orb, the screen goes black and it comes back up and your sword's laying on the ground and Drakmar reappears, but you are Drakmar. And then it's like, oh, well, now you're the evil bad guy. Who's going to save the world now? And then it just goes game over, and it goes back to the title screen. You don't get the credits, you don't get the music, nothing. I mean, this is a funky beat. I love this song. I have to pick good ending if I get to choose. Plus, I mean, you get to see what the game's supposed to look like without any lag. I mean, look at this. Watch this fight right here, where you've got the big man. Shoutouts to the big man. lots of people's favorite ally just because his name is Big Man. Chucking axes. And here's the ninja with the throwing stars. And then we've got two bad guys coming together to form the two-headed Hydra. And you've got the Thief. The Thief is the best ally in the arcade version because he arcs bombs. He throws bombs at an arc, which complements your straightforward slashes. It helps to try to take care of enemies that are above. And trust me, the arcade version has way more sprites. There's no sprite limitations in the arcade version. So, lots and lots and lots, like 3-4 times more enemies than you saw in this SNES run, where it's very, very limited. So you want that help. Also, the Thief can see when there are hidden chests or trap chests or what have you. Also, special thanks to Pooh. Very important. Special thanks to Pooh. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks everybody so much for watching. There's lots more to come. Stick around.